Hey guys, it's Keeley and welcome to another video. So today, as I'm filming this, it is June 9th, so we are halfway through the year, so it is time for me to do the mid-year book freakout tag. I'm so excited. If you don't know about this tag, it goes around like every year in the middle of the year, and you get to talk about all the books that you have read, all the disappointing reads, all the surprising reads, all those things. There are questions that go along with it, so let's get started. Question number 1 is best book you've read so far in 2019. So I have read a lot of rereads this year in 2019 so far. So when I'm talking about best book, I'm going to be showing you a new book that I read because a lot of the rereads are obviously some of my favorite books of all time. So I'm just going to exclude those from this question. So for this, the best book I have read so far, there were a lot of contenders, but the book I'm going with is 5 Feet Apart by Rachel Lippincott. I loved this book. Now, a lot of people are like, I don't know, they are like, why was this book published? Who's even reading that? Blah, blah, blah. I read it and I absolutely loved it. A lot of people have compared it to The Fault in Our Stars, and I can see that, but it's also so completely different because it's about cystic fibrosis, whereas The Fault in Our Stars is a cancer story. And I had never read anything with cystic fibrosis in it, so it just brought so much awareness to it. The movie was also great. If you don't know, it follows 2 characters who have cystic fibrosis, and if you have CF, you can't get within 6 feet of each other. So that makes things really difficult, but like I said, I had never read a book with this representation, and I have read so many articles, watched so many YouTube videos about what this book and the movie has done for this community, and that just makes this book even better. Question number 2 is best sequel you've read so far this year, and the book I am going to answer this question with is a reread, but it's one of my favorite sequels of all time, and that is Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. This is the second book in the Hunger Games trilogy, if you weren't aware. This is also my favorite book in the trilogy. So The Hunger Games is one of my favorite stories of all time, and this is my favorite book, so even though I have read this book before, it's still my favorite sequel I've read this year. Question number 3 is new release you haven't read yet but you really want to. Okay, this book literally just came out, and that is The Rest of the Story by Sarah Dessen. This came out a few days ago, and I cannot wait to read it. I love Sarah Dessen. This is her newest book. Obviously, it just came out. I don't even know what it's about, but it's Sarah Dessen, and I am in love with all of her stories. So this is definitely the newest release on my shelves that I cannot wait to read. Question number 4 is the most anticipated release for the rest of the year. So my most anticipated release for the rest of the year is Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. So this book is set in Seoul, South Korea, and is about Korean mythology and all this stuff. And if you don't know, I desperately want to go to Korea. So I think it'll be really cool to read more about Korean mythology because I've never read a book about Korean mythology. Question number 5, biggest disappointment. I think my biggest disappointment so far this year has been The Clockwork Scarab by Colleen Gleason. This is the first book in the Stoker and Holmes series. So I have had this book, like this series, on my shelf for years now, and it is about like 1800s London. There's vampires, there's magic, like every element that I would absolutely love. But these books take me so long to get through. They're not big at all, and I just get bored. There are so many plot points that it gets confusing. I ended up giving this one 3 out of 5 stars, so it's not too bad, but I don't usually rate books really low anyway. But yeah, this was probably my biggest disappointment. Question number 6, biggest surprise. I think my biggest surprise this year was Sadie by Courtney Summers. So this follows a girl, Sadie, whose little sister was murdered. So Sadie's trying to find her murderer and go and kill that person. It is also told partly in a podcast format. So I was a little hesitant going into this because it is like a mystery thriller type book, and I have not had good times with mystery books. That is just not my genre. But I love this. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I was actually so surprised that I loved the whole mystery aspect. Question number 7 is favorite new author. So I haven't read a lot of debut or new to me authors this year. I've read a few, so this is one of the few that I have read this year, and that is Maureen Gu. She wrote The Way You Make Me Feel, which I just finished this book, and I was not a huge fan of it. mainly because I didn't like the main character, but I loved every other aspect of the story. So I'm very much looking forward to reading all her other books because I think, just based on synopsis, that I will like those better. I'm really excited. I love her writing and I love Maureen Gu as a person. So this is definitely a new to me author and I'm very excited to read the rest of her books. Question number 8 is newest fictional crush. So I'm going to go with Ocean from A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tahereh Mafi. I loved Ocean and I feel like he is perfectly my type. He is such a sweet character and like just doesn't care what people think, and he likes what he likes and he loves what he loves and he's all for that, and he just doesn't listen to the norms of the culture or the people norms, because they're all idiots in this book except for like the non-prejudiced people like Ocean. But I definitely loved Ocean in this book. Question number 9 is newest favorite character. So one of my newest favorite characters from this year is Dax from By Your Side by Casey West. This book is about a girl who gets trapped in the library over a long weekend, and she realizes that she's not alone in the library. The town bad boy, bad reputation kid is also stuck in there with her, and Dax is that kid that has the bad reputation for literally no reason except rumors that have been spread. And I love that character, the bad boy type, but also like he's not a bad guy type situation, you know? That's my kind of character. I love Dax. He's the sweetest little boy ever, and I love him. Question number 10 is book that made you cry. And for me, that is without a doubt Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. This is book 3 in the Infernal Devices series. I reread this book on audio, and just hearing like the last part read aloud to me just really hit me. And I mean, I cried the first time I read this, but there are just some really sad things, but also happy things. And it's just a whole mix of emotions, but I definitely cried in this book. Question number 11, book that made you happy. I don't think this would be a video on my channel if I didn't repeatedly mention Casey West, but a book that made me happy this year was P.S. I Like You by Casey West. This follows two people who are in the same chemistry class and they sit in the same desk, and the main character, the girl, she writes lyrics on the desk, and when she comes back to class the next day, she sees that somebody has continued those lyrics, and so they start passing notes back and forth. This book made me so happy. All of Casey West's books make me incredibly happy. I just love them. They're like those feel-good, fluffy type of books, so they all just make you really happy. Question number 12 is most beautiful book you have bought this year. So if you didn't know, I used to be a Hufflepuff until last August. I had an identity crisis and I switched over to Ravenclaw. So with that life change, I had to buy different Harry Potter books. So this one is the most beautiful book I've bought, and that is my Ravenclaw edition of the Philosopher's Stone. I love these house editions so much, and I have the Hufflepuff ones because I was a Hufflepuff. So I had to get the Ravenclaw. And finally, question number 12 is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I would say at least Aragon by Christopher Paolini. I have had this book on my shelf for over 10 years probably and just haven't read the series. I own every book in the series and I haven't read it, and I've heard great things. It has dragons in it, so I should love it, but I definitely want to read this book by the end of the year. Alright, so that was my mid-year book freakout tag. Let me know your favorite book that you have read so far this year so I can get some new recommendations. But that is it. Thank you so much for watching. As always, my social media links will be down below, and I will see you next time. Bye!